Hi, Annette.
Hi. I lost the link. I emailed you, and then I found.
Oh, you've got it. Oh, that's great. You had a nice day, nice week.
Yes, I have. The weather's been good, and I've been gardening.
Oh, lovely. At least it's not as hot as it was, which is quite nice, isn't it? You can do a bit more.
Well, that was a bit too hot.
Yeah.
I managed to see the whole of that episode. That second time you sent it, it worked.
Oh, good, lovely. Yeah. Sometimes they might have a problem with the website or something like that. So I'm glad you got to see it.
I did. Otherwise, I wouldn't have remembered anything.
I think, especially the audience, I think forgets how long ago these things are. So it's because when you watch the Blu-ray copy and it looks so beautifully restored, it looks like it's almost filmed yesterday. And of course, it's very far from the truth, isn't it? So
yeah, exactly. And we just kept going episode to episode, so it was very hard to remember anything really.
Oh yeah. I think if we sort of anybody tries to think back of a year of their working life, we would struggle to think of what we were doing in January or February. So it does all meld into one, doesn't it? Really,
it does
a little bit.
Oh.
Okay. So Ray should be joining us fairly soon.
Okay.
I think we've got there now, so that's lovely.
Why the hell that happened? It's got to be the signal.
Yeah. I think sometimes, the signal, and then there's glitches with Zoom itself. So.
Well, my. All right. Annette, go away. Go and do it all. Do it all. Now take over. Go on.
Not likely. You're going to kick in.
Okay, so so I think we're
now.
Oh,
okay.
I just had a message.
Are you you're open up to the audience and everything?
Yeah, the audience are online and ready to go, so that's good. Ian Cullen just said hello, Ray. Good to see you.
Nice. Thank you, Ian.
So for those that have the episode on the DVD or Blu-ray, want to watch along as we chat, if you just want to get the episode ready in front of you, we'll pause on the opening shot of Jeff on the bench. I'll just give people 30 seconds or so to get that ready, and then we'll make a start. You had a good day, Ray?
Good. Up until I tried to connect to you guys.
Yeah.
No, everything's good. The weather's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on, what's one? No, it's down in your room. It's working in your study. Yeah, you can watch it down there, and you can type in or whatever. Wendy's not going to interrupt up here today. She's got it on a screen downstairs.
Oh,
I think.
Yeah.
But don't take me that for granted, because you know what she is. She'll be in sooner or later.
Okay, that'd be lovely. Nice to see you. Always nice to see you, Wendy. The only thing that perhaps it could do is, because your internet doesn't seem as stable as normal, so as you say, it might be some connection issues, and also if you've got two laptops going, that might sort of slow it down a little bit. But
we always have 2 or 3 laptops going here anyways. It doesn't normally do that. Hey, but the thing is, I can hear perfectly. You both look marvelous.
Oh, that's you, Ray.
So all systems go, I take it.
Okay. So I think we're all probably ready to make a start. So I'll do a little countdown from 5, and then we'll press play. So everybody's ready. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and play.
Go.
So the episode opens with Jeff talking to Hopkirk on an exterior location. Do you remember where this was? Was it a park somewhere near Elstree?
It was in Boreham Wood. It was back of the old ATV studios, the park ground there.
Oh yeah.
We used to use it a lot because it had a road running through it, and you could always use it for a walk and talk or something like that.
Yes.
It's all local stuff. And in actual fact, this show was more of a bottle show, as we call them in the industry, than anything. There were few locations, very few locations.
Yeah.
And the house, the interior of the house was revamped. It's a 3-wall room. It was a very cheap show. It's a Monty Berman show. It had to be cheap.
Because what was the budget on, say, how much resource did you have to play with on Randall versus, say, the Avengers or the Saint? Was it comparable in terms of size?
Any Monty Berman show was a quarter of what the Avengers cost.
Right.
Even the other ones, you know, Department S and Jason King and the Champions, they were all cheap shows. They were all virtually bottle shows. We very seldom did locations.
Yeah, they did. We fought for ages to go on locations. We tried to get them to send us to, you know, away to locations, and because you know, a ghost can travel, and we wanted to do all sorts of things, and they were starting to get near that idea when towards the end of our series, and then of course they decided not to do another thing. So we didn't get to do locations. We had wonderful ideas because Mike and Kenny and I would sit after the show finished, you know, after we'd finished shooting, and we'd sit in one of the dressing rooms and go over some things and try to get up ideas. And Dennis Spooner was wonderful because he was very receptive to our ideas of a bit more comedy, going somewhere else, doing this, you know, but it never found the way.
Dennis, as the audience know from my past things with Philip, Dennis Spooner was a hero to me. You know, one of the reasons that I'm sitting where I am and I got in the industry, because he brought my first script and gave me a lot of breaks. But Dennis was under the cosh, as we say, being tied to Monty, because he couldn't very well do anything. Monty had the purse strings.
That's right.
I mean, Dennis was a hero in the industry as far as I'm concerned, because he collaborated, wrote, and invented so many shows and worked with them. I mean, the Randall Hopkirk was his creation.
Yes, yes.
Then you've got
wonderful creation.
Department S, Jason King, all those things. Dennis's credits go so far back. It's not true. Doctor Who.
Yeah.
I think Dennis started out even doing Coronation Street.
Did he? I didn't know.
I think he wrote a couple of Coronation Streets in his very early days. But then he drifted into things like Doctor Who for the BBC, and then with the Andersons, the puppet shows.
Oh, yeah.
His credit goes on. There's pages of Dennis. Dennis, it was a brilliant writer. He was always.
He was a lovely man. I really liked. We all loved him. We did. The three of us. We really, really liked him.
And also he chose a block of good writers, because he could not write all these shows himself. He had to have other people. I mean, I think Tony Williams wrote this one.
Yes, he did.
Tony Williams sadly passed away as a very young man. I shot 2 or 3 different shows of Tony's on different series, but Tony wrote quite a few of these. And what I'm going to say is that Dennis was always good in choosing the right people to go along and do the scripts, even though he was still in charge of it.
Yeah,
did the tidies up.
Yeah,
you always choose the right people, always.
Yes, he did.
Carry on.
So what did you both think of the script when so having looked at it again, do you think the script works well? Did you like it as an episode?
Well, in a way I didn't I thought there could have been a little more. It was tentative in parts, and I thought there could have been more of a punch with it.
Yeah.
Because it was an episode that was different. You know, I mean, here is somebody who's got the power to see and know that Marty was there, and that's an interesting idea. And to have some power to connect him really and to make him do what he wanted to do. And I thought that it could have had more, well, as I said, a punch. And it disappointed me from my point of view, in the scene with Alexandra and John Fraser, etc., in the graveyard, where I tackle her and the fight and everything. That there just could have been a little more. But in those days, they didn't want a woman to be active. And I was annoyed by that, because the Avengers had it all. I thought, why can't they do this? And I think Mike and Kenny agreed with me, you know, but it didn't change. And I think the writers were under instruction sometimes from Monty and the powers that be. Oh, we don't want too much comedy. We don't want this. We don't want that. No, we can't have a woman doing that. Even then, and here we were, having brought the miniskirt, having brought women who were doing their own businesses, you know, Mary Quantz and all those sorts of people were coming out of the woodwork and saying, we are women and we can do all these things. And it should have been integrated more in the film work as it is now. I mean, now they can do anything. But Kenny and Mike and I talked about these things, and we did try a lot. They tried to bring me into it more when they did succeed, and Dennis wanted to very much. But you know, I just wanted to go further than that, and I'm sure Ray would understand that. I'm saying that I just would have liked to have done more in that fight scene, but we weren't allowed to. Do you agree with that? Yeah.
That was under Monty's control again.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was saying. Yeah.
Dennis would have gone for any of that, because, as I've said to our audience before on here, thanks to Brian Clements, women have got a name on the screen. He was the first person who dared to give a woman her rights.
Exactly.
No other television company, no other producer and director had dared to do it until Brian wrote it on the Avengers.
Yes, that's right. And Kenny and Mike and I used to discuss things quite a lot. And Dennis was all for it. You know, he'd say, that's a good idea. Oh, yeah, a bit more comedy. Yeah, that's a great idea. And that's one of the features of this series that's made it so popular. I've had so much feedback from fans and people who have said, we loved you know, it was funny sometimes, and it wasn't, and it was, that's what drew people in, I think.
Yeah.
And it could have gone further. It could have been wonderful.
Yeah, I think a lot of shows, you look at the Saint or any long-running show, it usually takes 2 or 3 seasons at least to get into its stride. And it would have,
but the trouble was with Randall Hopkirk, Phil, it was no one can make up their mind whether it was drama or comedy.
I know.
Yeah.
There's no reason, as we tried to say, there's no reason with it being a drama with some comedy, which you do see now. I mean, you do see things like that. And to have a detective thing, I mean, Kenny alone, his character was comedy.
Yeah.
You know, so you have to add to that. You have to play on that. And Dennis was all for it. But yeah.
Well, you have three casts there that had comedic instinct. Yourself, Michael, and Kenneth. It was made to drop comedy in. You know, a lot of shows that I've worked on in my life and that allow for sight gags. You know, the actor or someone comes up with a sight gag and you think, that's funny, let's do it.
Yeah.
But you never dare do it with Monty Berman, because Monty Berman would want to reshoot it or something, or it wouldn't be his idea.
That's right. Yeah.
And he would be very upset over it.
That's right.
I'm sorry about this plastic coughing there. I don't know what's gone wrong.
No worries, mate. I just wanted to have a little discussion about some of the actors we're seeing on the screen. John Fraser is very prominent in this episode. Do you remember John Fraser?
Thank you.
Annette.
Sorry, what?
Do you remember John Fraser?
Yes, I do. Yes. I worked with him a couple of times, actually.
I first worked with John Fraser in a picture called Tunes of Glory.
All right. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I was doing the stunt work on it, and that was the first time I met John.
Yeah.
And I used him there, and I used him once again on another show.
Yeah. He was nice. I liked John.
Yeah, nice man.
Yeah. And he was good.
Yeah, he only recently passed away in 2020, so had a good innings.
Yeah.
And of course, we have Alexander Bastido
Yeah.
here as well, which I think where you might have worked on the Champions, perhaps.
Yeah, I worked on the Champions. I also used her on the Avengers. I used her in this, so what you're watching now. She was a super lady. She died much too young.
Yes.
Yes, she did.
Yeah.
She did.
Yeah,
She was very nice.
Tony Williams as well. I mean, he died very young. Most of the people on this show, sadly to say,
And Mike
left us.
Mike left us a long time ago.
Yeah.
That was such a shock. Oh, I was so upset about that.
He wouldn't put down the cigarettes. He wouldn't put down the cigarettes, Michael.
No, I know.
He was a shock.
He lived life from both ends. He really did.
But it was
I
surprising.
worked with him a couple of times before Randall Hopkirk, and I just loved him. He was great.
It was surprising to see how many people elected to smoke, even on that episode in those days.
Yeah. Well,
Because
they did. I couldn't smoke. I never smoked. I had to in the odd thing. It was always had, and so you went along with it. But I just did the usual. I learned to do, and I didn't take any smoke down. I couldn't do it.
Well, earlier on, Roger on the Saints smoked as well.
I know, everybody did. Yeah. And
it was the thing to do, thanks to people like Bette Davis and Humphrey Bogart, and it was the thing to do.
yes, it was.
Everybody thought it was.
And it was very sexy. It could be used as a very sexy thing, using the cigarette and the long holder and the whole thing. Yeah. Rather well.
I was surprised that that the episode we're watching is not dated more. Because we're watching it on small screen. We're not big screen on this yet. And because it was a bottle show and there were very few people in it, it's just surprising me that it's not dated more in the look than it is. I mean, I think it's playing very well.
It is playing very well.
But,
yeah. It just came out what was lacking through Monty Berman when I looked at it last night.
But it was, to do that show in this day and age, like they tried to do, but they didn't know how to do it when they remade it, would be a dream, because all the gimmicks we have now and the green screen, the things we could have done with Kenny and the Ghost. No business. Anything you wanted to do that cost money with Kenny, Monty Berman blocked straight away.
Yeah.
If I wanted to walk Kenny through a wall, which was difficult, I had to do it with a 45-degree angle glass.
Yeah.
Which took time. Monty overruled it straight away. No, just jump him in and out, and that was the end of it. There's no conversation.
I know. It could have been, yeah. I mean, if we were all here and did it again, we'd do a marvelous show. It would be a little aged, but
when they tried to remake this, they had much more at their disposal than we did. And I'm surprised they didn't, because it was a flop. And I mean, people like Emma Fox, a good actress, excellent actress. The lady that took your part. But they had all the facilities to be able to do this. I mean, it was a big challenge for actors to come onto Randall Hopkirk or my partner, the Ghost, because if they were a stranger to the set, they hadn't get used to the way we worked, because we did it the cheap way. What we used to do, we would jump Kenny in or out of the shot.
Yeah.
And I worked out a way of doing it on a word, as well as doing it on a command. If you've got a scene, this is for the audience benefit, not for Annette, because she knows it backwards. But what we would do, we have a scene, we got 3 people in the scene. When we originally started, when I wanted to bring Kenny in, somewhere in the scene, I would talk over it. I would say, freeze, and everybody in the scene would freeze. And Kenny would walk in and I would say, go. And on the, everybody would start acting again. And the editor would just cut that piece of film out of Kenny walking in or walking out.
Yeah.
That was the gimmick. Then I came up with the idea of doing it, which Mike Pratt and I started it, was doing it on the word. So I'd use the dialogue. I mean, for instance, if the actor or Annette, for instance, was to say, open the window for me, I would say, right, on the word for, everybody freezes. And Kenny walks in. And as soon as he walks in, Annette would say, window, and carry on the scene. And so we would do it on the command of a word to save me saying, freeze. Go.
Yeah.
So I would take any line of dialogue, whichever actor had, and say, right, on
that word,
a certain word, everybody freezes, no matter what they're doing. So the person doing that, they stop, just like that.
Yeah.
Kenny walk in, go. And the editor would trim it right out. It was the cheap way of doing it. But as I'm saying, all of the new actors that came in were always baffled by this. How were we going to do this? And they couldn't do it. And the standing of a freezing, my regular cast, the 3 of them, they knew it backwards. They were perfect at it. But you to catch them in an awkward position, they'd still freeze.
Yeah, exactly.
The new actors, it took them quite a few times to get used to this crazy thing we were doing.
It did. There were times when that didn't actually work, because Kenny loved to walk past me and tread on my toe. And I'd go in the middle of the freeze. And then of course I'd fall about laughing, and that wasn't on at all. No. We did have fun on that. We did have a lot of fun.
We had a lot of fun on it. We had a big trouble at the beginning, because I think Jerry Moss was cameraman on the one I shot, but the discussion came up at the beginning, which came from Hollywood in actual fact, that you can't put a shadow on a ghost. So the cameraman now had a problem of how to shoot the show without ever putting a shadow on Kenny's white suit.
Right.
And, we wasted a whole morning trying to work this out. It just was too difficult. You could not, it was impossible. So in the end, we walked away from it. Monty Berman accepted it and Dennis accepted it. So Kenny has shadows on him, but technically you see.
No, there should be nothing.
Blythe Spirit, for instance, the old cow show, Blythe Spirit.
Yeah.
You never get a shadow on her because
never.
But we couldn't possibly do it with that. With the green screen now, we could. Easier.
You can do loads of stuff. Yes.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Was a lot of technical issues when it came to if he accidentally touched an object or bumped into something, or a guest star caught his eye line, that it would be, you'd have to reshoot kind of stuff.
But look, it was that sort of thing happened occasionally. But bear in mind, we had fantastic editors that were used to it. An editor gets you out of so much trouble.
Yeah.
And also you take an outtake of one thing. Script ladies that used to have murders, and Kenny hair had to be plastered down. I think Janet Freeman was the hairdresser.
Oh yes.
She used to have to plaster his hair down because nothing of his, even if Annette was in the show, in the scene, and her hair was blowing. He was standing next to her. His hair couldn't blow.
No.
So we always had these problems or something like that, you know.
It was very funny because what was it? The first couple of episodes, they put his wig on backwards.
That's right.
Yeah, he played it with his wig on backwards. He didn't quite know what was going.
Yeah. It was funny.
There were very funny times. There was a time when, this is Monty, right? Monty Berman. When we were doing the graveyard scene where I have the fight with Alexandra and John Fraser with Mike and all that sort of thing, we were out there, for I guess several days. It was freezing cold. I mean, miserable, freezing cold weather. We had a small caravan that we could get into, and when we were waiting for the shot, to go on the screen, the scene, etc., with no heating. And we'd sit there, we were freezing. And I can't think, if I'm really cold, my mind goes, I'm just, And it happened a couple of times. Eventually, we got together, we went to Monty and we said, either you get a caravan with some heatings or we're off here. We did get the same caravan, but we did get a couple of heaters, which certainly helped. I was so cold. Alexandra, she was in with us at some point, and I'm cold. I'm so good. And she said, "Oh, your hands are really cold." I said, "Yes, I know they are. It's been cold. I mean, we've got a heater now, so it's better." And she had some sheepskin mittens. She said, "Here, take these." And I said, "No, I can't take them." She said, "No, I'm all right. I feel fine." And she gave me the mittens and she told me to keep them. I had those mittens until maybe just 4 or 5 years ago.
That's lovely.
And I kept those mittens and I used to wear them when I was in really cold weather. Yeah.
Well, she was used to Monty Berman. She'd had him for a year before you got him.
Well, I'd known him before when Monty Berman and Bob Baker worked together on The Saint.
Yeah.
So I'd done a lot of The Saint, but then Bob Baker took over, and that was a whole different ballgame.
Alexandra,
I knew
Monty. She used to go mad with Monty on the Champions and things. But
I'm sure.
You could never do anything with Monty Berman. Hey, he put a lot of stuff on the screen. He paid a lot of salaries. I can't complain about that. He was just.
Well, he did. I mean, yes, he did. We were really
nice person.
Yeah.
He had a bad personality, and not very few people had a good word to say about him.
I know. Yeah.
And as I told the story last week or the other, couple of weeks ago, the reason that Bob Baker and Monty Berman broke up was over a broom handle.
Yeah, I heard that.
They were partners right until Monty Berman
put the broom handle
charged the broom handle to the show to take home. He says you're charging a broom handle to the show to take home. That was the end of it.
Very funny.
Yeah.
When you think about it, there are some funny moments that go on.
Well, I mean, it's funnier if you know the film industry. I mean, I don't know, as the production manager, you go through the budget of that particular episode, the one I'm talking about, whichever it was, with Bob Baker and that. And the guys, obviously, Ron Lyle, whoever it would have been, we were going through $84,000 for cars, $9,000 for there's a location, $22,000, broom handles, £3.19 and 6. What the hell is that broom handle doing on the budget of this show? And Bob Baker said, "Why did you put a broom handle on the budget of the show?" He said, "Well, I broke the broom handle." He said, "Well, buy a broom." So you can afford to buy a broom. You don't have to put it on the show.
Oh dear. One of the actors we're seeing now is Charles Lloyd Pack, the father of Roger Lloyd Pack, who played Trigger in Only Fools and Horses. Do you remember Charles at all?
Yes. I worked with Charles several times, I think, over the years.
yeah, I think he did A Prisoner with you and a couple of other things perhaps, and he's a great role as the as the medium. Do you remember Charles at all, Ray?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I've used him before. I used him on the Avengers as well, and I used him on I think it was a Space 1999.
Yeah,
He's nice gentleman, a lovely actor, nice man.
He was, yes, he was lovely.
Everybody was good on the show, and they all had their bits and pieces. Our doctor, he was always good value. What's the gentleman's name who played the doctor? I forget his name now.
Oh, Ivor Dean.
No, he was
The doctor.
When Marty goes to the doctor with
Yeah.
Richard Caldecott.
that's it, Richard Caldecott.
Yeah.
Marty can't be examined, but so
Oh yes, he can't.
decides to be examined instead with all the symptoms that Marty had.
Yeah, so Jeff is doing. I mean,
In the end, Marty blows all the papers over him at the end before he leaves.
Yeah.
There were some good moments. There were some really good moments. There were. Yeah.
It was a show that should have carried on for a lot longer than it did, I tell you.
Oh, we were very disappointed because we'd talked with Dennis, and we had all these ideas that he thought were wonderful of taking this show abroad to other countries where, Marty could travel and he'd encounter different things. And I know Dennis thought that was a wonderful idea, and he agreed with us. And we thought, oh, good, we can do another lot. And it got cancelled. And here we are playing still, it's amazing, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's
this particular episode was a good episode for the stuntmen. They loved me even more.
Yeah.
I used 3 stuntmen as the characters: Terry Plummer, Romo Gahara, and Paddy Ryan.
Oh, Paddy Ryan, I remember.
As the villains. But then again, those stuntmen had to fight the real people, so I had to bring in stunt doubles then for the people they fought. So we wound up on the show with about 8 different stunt people. Which was
there were a couple of times when Mike, that you used a stunt double for Mike, right?
Yeah.
With some of the punchy things, and then you cut in with him, dealing with other things.
Well, Mike doubled on this one. I had to use Rocky Taylor to double him on this one.
Yeah.
Rocky doubled him, and a guy called Harry Fielder.
Oh, Harry Fielder, yeah.
Harry Fielder's gone now as well.
Yeah, he was a nice chap, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's passed away.
Yeah.
And Frank Mayer I had doubling as well on it, Fearless Frank.
Frank, I knew quite well, yeah. He was on a lot of things that I worked on. Is he still around?
No, he died many, many years ago.
Oh.
Terry Plummer sadly has gone. He went blind before he died.
Oh my God.
Terry Plummer. And Paddy Ryan went a long, long time ago.
Did he? Oh.
Yeah. Oh yeah. A great time ago. Rocky Taylor's still going strong. We've had him on the show, haven't we, for that?
We have indeed, yes.
Oh, good. Hey, we're not doing too badly, are we, Ray?
No.
We're doing quite well.
all still here.
Yeah.
I got the big birthday coming up on the 5th of December.
Oh yeah.
No.
It's the big one.
We just saw the fight sequence that we were just talking about, and did Mike like to do his own stunts, or was he quite happy to?
He was happy to get in and do bits and pieces, but he wasn't that good at throwing punches.
Right.
Well, that was Rocky Taylor doubling in there.
Yeah.
Someone doubled in there.
And Harry Field doubled him a couple of times, and but Harry wasn't really a stunt man. He was a face in the crowd. He was a lovely guy.
Yeah.
But Michael would do it, but it was too chancy.
Yeah.
He wasn't very good at throwing punches, and also you only got to get an actor hurt, and we're all out of work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's the big problem. As Robert Wagner and I were saying the other week.
Yeah.
He took the liberty of doing things and broke his ankle once, and then he broke collarbone.
Hmm.
Um,
Well,
doing-
Mike broke his leg on the last episode.
yeah, it's too risky. That's why stuntmen were invented. Thank God.
Well, yeah. We did touch on them briefly. Ivor Dean plays the Inspector Large,
Yeah.
and of course he was in numerous episodes of The Saint and the Avengers, Persuader as well. What was Ivor like?
Ivor was a Superman. The only thing that I can say about Ivor is he would do anything you wanted him to do. He arrived on time, knew all his lines and that. But his facial expressions, he would go over the top sometimes with his eyeballs, and especially with Kenny, when Kenny was in a scene and Mike would answer on Kenny's behalf. You know, Ivor would widen his eyes looking around, thinking you were going to see Kenny any minute. You know, he was supposed to be reacting to Mike Pratt, not to Kenny Dope. But if you watch Ivor, a lot of the times, his facial expressions were over the top. Lovely man, nice actor, would always work with him. Again, he went very early as well.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. Did you enjoy working with Ivor, Annette?
Sorry?
Did
Yes, I worked with Ivor and other things. I can't remember what, but yes, I knew him as an actor. A lot of the actors.
In practically every show, like indeed that was, so she worked with him all the time there.
Yeah.
No, I worked pretty much for about 12 years at Elstree Studios. I mean, quite a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, MGM a couple of times, but Elstree was more or less my home for about 12 years. Doing all sorts of things, yeah.
It was for a lot of it.
BBC and other stuff like that. But yeah, I keep coming back to Elstree. And I'm so sad when I see it now.
I don't see it, fortunately.
Yeah, I've only seen it a couple of times when I've been down to do a convention, but yeah, I don't like it. I really don't. They painted my dressing room for me once and made it the color I wanted to be. I thought, oh, I'm a star.
Well, I grew up there. I mean, I was lucky. I was the stunt coordinator and stunt man there. I used to have ABPC, which was the Elstree Studios. I used to have MGM at the top of the road, across the road at ATV, and down the road to Danziger's. And I was running all those things as stunt coordinator. I was a very lucky fellow.
Yeah.
I would go from one studio to the other.
Yeah.
I used to love it in the mornings going to ABPC, because we used to go across the road to a cafe and get a bacon sarnie, take it across for our breakfast. It was a lovely life.
It was. Oh, it was. I would jump in my car at about 6:30 from Chelsea and sort of program the car while I was starting to wake up. And the car would take me down to Elstree. It was so used to the thing. And then you'd walk into the makeup room and someone would say, "You had breakfast? No. Do you want a breakfast?" "Yeah. Scrambled egg with bacon with." It
used to be great.
It was nice. It was nice.
Did you have a lot to do with your costume in that? Were you able to add little things like your look and character detail? Were you allowed to sort of?
I actually had quite a lot of input with the costume. I knew Laura Nightingale quite well because I'd worked with her before, and she knew that I knew what it should be because I worked with the character and I worked with myself. And she got contacts for costumes. And one of the big things that I've had from fans is that so many of them write and say, "I just loved your clothes in that show." And it was true. It was very in fashion.
Yeah.
And it had color. I mean, now everybody's in black. I can't work with anymore because I don't wear black. So, but it had color and it had style. And yeah, I did have input. And occasionally I'd wear something of my own if I thought it was right for it and didn't have time to get anything else.
Yeah, but the great thing about your shirt, your clothes were, and especially in this one, with a lovely short skirts and you got great legs, it looked marvelous.
Thank you. Oh, thank you.
You watch when you walk backwards and forwards around that desk. It's very sexy little lady, very sexy.
Thank you, Ray. I'll remember that.
Well, it's true. The guys used to look at it on the set and that to say, that short skirt, wow, look at those legs.
Oh,
that's what it's about.
Thank you. I know I'm thrilled. Thank you. I don't think anybody's ever said that to me before.
Just watch the show. Just watch the show. We're very lucky to stunt double when you're at the churchyard and you dive on top. One of you dives on top of the other. You're very lucky the skirts didn't go up high there.
Yeah. I wanted to do more in that fight sequence. I wanted to really grab her and twist her over and do.
Yeah, and then someone would have poked a finger in your eye and we'd have all been out of work for the next 3 weeks.
Yep, you're right.
Oh God.
So Annette, did you have a permanent stunt double, or did it kind of change from week to week sort of thing?
I think, well, sometimes I had someone that I knew, but
Dorothy Ford used to double you sometimes.
maybe, yeah.
Dorothy Ford, the horsewoman.
Yeah.
And I don't think
at that time, women didn't really need a lot of stunt doubles because we didn't do anything. That was interesting or dangerous. Very few. And I'm going to just nick out of this for a minute and say that I did a film, Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum, where Michael Crawford and I did most of our own stunts.
Yeah.
And I did have a stunt double who was a man, Mick Dillon. Do you remember Mick Dillon? Do you know?
Yeah.
And,
I used to use men doubles when I first started the Avengers. I used Paul Weston and Billy Wilde as Diana's double.
Yeah. They did, if you were doing, But women didn't do those sorts of things. But in that movie, I did a lot of stuff, and it was wonderful. I loved it.
But then the stunt business had women come into it, and the women fought their own way in, and now there are a lot of very, very good women stunt.
Oh, I'm sure there are, because now women are given.
In the early days when I started stunting, we didn't have women, men doubled. And also, you didn't have any black stuntmen in those days.
No.
You had to make someone up to be black.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
There wasn't a black stuntman.
We didn't have very many black actors. Let's face it. Hardly any. Yeah.
Yeah, I think diversity is still a lot of big problem even now, isn't it? Sort of just trying to, to get the directors, the writers, the correct stories, and then the industry seems to be still not quite where it should be.
No, I think you're wrong there. But I think what's happening now, they're going over the top to prove that they are definitely not prejudiced. They go over the top so much it's not true. Suddenly you turn around. An assistant director is a goldmine to a director. You get a good assistant director, he looks after everything for me. He'll do the background and one thing or another. And in my latter years in the industry, which a few years ago now, suddenly I would be looking through the camera or something, and I'd see more black people than anyone else. And and it was absolutely unnecessary. So they've gone the other way in many cases, completely over the top.
I think so too.
Completely over the top.
Historical
character doesn't call for it.
No.
We know that there are black, Chinese, Indian bus conductors, policemen, or whatever it is. But suddenly they're going over the top, and we find out the bus driver is black, the conductor is black, 4 of the passengers are black, and you look at your assistant, you say, "What's going on?" I mean,
and it's usually set at a time when that didn't happen. Yeah. So it takes the reality out of it.
Mm.
And it's not good for either way, white or black. It's, you know, I mean, they're doing historical things now with costume and everything, where you wouldn't have seen a black person. It's not right. I mean, it's not, well, I don't mean it's not right, but it's not right for that time.
Yeah.
And it's trying to change history, and that's not right.
But it's the writers and producers at those times that did it. I mean, they never wrote the characters in.
No,
They never wrote a character in like that. And
no. Well, it didn't happen. I mean, in the reality of those times, it didn't happen. There weren't black people or colored people or Chinese people. They were all doing menial jobs maybe, but they weren't part of the aristocracy or part of the thing. And so it's cheating, and it's not good for those people, because, you know, they understand that this is not what it was. I think that's Anne Boleyn. From Baz to everyone, Anne Boleyn. What do you mean?
Well, that's reference to the Tudor series. I'm not sure, but yeah, so something like Bridgerton, for example, had a black actor in a role that really wouldn't have been possible in that sort of Jane Austen type era. So
Yes,
what you're saying, although there would have been some people of different ethnic backgrounds around, certainly perhaps not quite the way they portray it, perhaps.
And it's not right for those people, for that ethnic person, because they know they're just being used to fill today's appeal. And it's not right. It's not right for them.
No, definitely not. Yeah, so Baz clarified that there was a recent TV play that had a black actress as Anne Boleyn. And I think I do remember seeing a trailer for that, actually. So so that of course is. I mean, I suppose it's nice to have gender blindness, color blindness when it comes to acting, but again, I suppose it's.
Well, it is, but it's also not doing them a favor to think that they're just being used to put in that particular person in this, to, you know, it's not right. Whereas now they can be used brilliantly. And there are some wonderful black and Chinese and all sorts of ethnic races, wonderful actors and actresses, absolutely.
well, in the early days, you know, you knew your black actors, and if you wanted one, and the script called for it, you were calling people like Earl Cameron, who was a brilliant actor. Or if you wanted an Indian, it was Saeed Jeffries.
Yes.
These were your regular people that you knew their faces, and they would come and do them.
Because it was the right part then. It was right to have them then. And there was a wonderful actor. I worked with him several times. Oh gosh, I can't remember. Chinese. But anyway, how awful I can't remember. But you know, he came to play certain parts that were absolutely right for him. And he was lovely. He was very good.
You remember Burt Kwouk?
Yes, that's who I was thinking of.
Burt Kwouk, that's it. Yeah.
I took Burt. He worked with me quite a few times, but I took him to Japan with me, as I produced and directed a show called Shirley's World with Shirley MacLaine.
Right.
And we went off to Tokyo and Kamakura to go and shoot 8 episodes over there. I took Alan Hume was my cameraman, and Ray Thrift was a production manager. And Burt Kwouk, I took over to play a part for me. And Burt is a born Cockney. I mean, he's a born Cockney.
Oh, yeah.
And when we got over there, we go to the New Atani Hotel, and all the crew, the Japanese crew and the English crew and that, keep coming up to Burt Kwouk saying, how'd you say so-and-so? And he said, what do you mean? He said, well, how'd you ask for this? And how did... He said, I don't fucking know. He said, I was born in London. He said, I'm not Japanese. I'm not even Chinese. All through the production, whenever anyone wanted to ask a question, They knew he was speaking English to people, so they go up to Bert and say, "Would you ask the director for so and so in Japanese?" He said, "I don't speak bloody Japanese." A lovely guy. A lovely
Yeah, he
guy.
was. He was a lovely guy. I liked him very much.
There was a couple more people just worth mentioning in the episode. We have John Richmond playing Lord Manning, who is tied up, and when Randall comes in. Did you remember John Richmond?
I don't very well, to be quite truthful, sadly. I don't. I remember casting him with Owen, but I don't remember him, and I don't know what happened to him.
I don't know either.
Yeah, I have to look into it. And
I mean, I know the track records of the other actors and stuntmen in there, but he sadly has slipped by me. I don't know whatever happened to him, whether he carried on in the business or.
I don't know either.
Well, he died in 1992, aged 80. Just having a look at the internet. Acting up to 1984. Did a few, mostly TV work. It looks like, yeah.
Well, that's good then that he kept going.
Kept going.
So many people disappear and do things and get married, and they don't want to carry on acting, or they decided it wasn't up to, for them eventually. And I often get the fan mail and things come through saying, "Do you remember me? I did so and so and so and so." And I do remember most of them, but a lot of them just disappear, like we did the other week when we were doing Heart to Heart. The boy who played Jonathan Hart Jr., he just disappeared off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
Good little actor, but he just disappeared.
Yeah.
Sorry, Annette, did you want to say something? No. We're just watching the end of the graveyard scene at the moment. You've had the fight and the police arrived. From your perspective, Ray, was it nice to shoot outside? I mean, obviously Annette was saying it was very cold, and I think you didn't quite like these shoots too much.
Well, it was unusual to be able to go and do a night shot out at number one.
Well, I was going to say, it's clearly not day for night, is it? It's night.
Like playing overtime. If he'd have got Jerry Moss to be able to shoot it day for night, he would have done, but it was not possible to do. You know, but it's always good to go on location. It's much more feeling into the show, unless it's a period piece where you're building sets and one thing and another. But to actually take your actors out on location, let them have the run of the place and shoot, it's always good for the show.
Oh, it's wonderful, except I hated that graveyard.
Yeah.
I had to do things in there several times. It was always cold. It was always miserable. And it was very depressing.
Also, we kept threatening to leave you there anyway.
Oh, you did? Oh. You just wanted me to freeze to death. But I had Alexandra's mittens, so I would not have frozen.
As long as Wardrobe didn't turn up with a white dress for you, it was okay. Then you would know you were going to be deceased.
I know. That would have been funny. I could have joined Marty, and we'd have had a royal feast with Mike, with Jeff.
I assume the reason why it was a night shoot was because of, first of all, being a real graveyard, but also the fact that the shadows and on the gravestones would have made it too difficult.
No, that wasn't a problem there. It was just bloody cold and uncomfortable. But it's still lovely. I mean, beautiful. As I've said before, and I keep repeating myself to our audience, since I entered the industry, I've not been to a day's work in my life. And even night shoots were still fun.
Oh, I loved it. I just loved it. I'd love to be back there doing it again.
Yeah.
I really would. And you met such, there were interesting people, sometimes not, sometimes were awful. But generally, in a way, you got along with most people. And Ray, I remember from a stuntman, and then the director, And it was good, wasn't it, Ray?
Oh, very good.
It really was.
And now I see you sit here 300 shows later, very happy.
Yeah, yeah, me too. But I want to be doing it again, at least something.
Well, that you can. I mean,
I can.
they have character parts now for 35-year-old, 40-year-olds. You're all
There
right.
you go. Oh, I've got it. I'll do it.
And of course,
Listen,
you have-
in this country, in America, you can't. But in this country, they realize that there are older people in life, so they do right for older people here. In America, forget it. They have no idea about older people. But unless you're a man, they'll take a man who's older, and maybe Helen Hayes. But other than that, you know, older people don't work. But in this country, they can. And it's true. I mean, they're old people. And there are some wonderful actors still going, actors and actresses still going, who are old. I mean, some of them are older than me.
The best place to shoot and cast movies in the world is England. We always cast characters in England. We always have cast characters.
Yes.
And
America doesn't know about characters, does it, Ray?
in America, they just want TNA. They normally want young.
Yeah.
It used to drive me totally insane when I did shows here. I used to love it when they sent for me back in England. I could cast characters.
Yeah, I know. In America doesn't have character actors. I mean, very few, very, very few. It's a limited number. But here, people have always had character actors here, haven't they? And it's been wonderful. God, there've been some wonderful people. I'd love to think I could have joined them. I could.
Yeah, definitely. Just a couple of other names that involve with the series. I mean, the music plays such a big a part of it. Do you remember Edwin Ashley, the composer?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Edwin was super like indeed Laurie Johnson. And in those days, they used to music a show, and we used to spot the music and know how to spot music. Now, music takes over a scene. You can't even hear what the actors are saying sometimes.
Ruth, thank goodness you're saying that. I thought it was just me.
No.
Music
they drive you insane. And most of it is not music. It's electronic chords.
Yeah.
And things, you know, it's gone crazy. They don't know how to put music on a show.
No, they don't. No, they don't. Thank goodness you said that. That when Arthur was here, he and I would talk about it all the time. Oh my God, why is this music going on? We want to hear what they're saying. Yeah.
They had no. I learned to spot music. Fortunately, with one of the best was Laurie Johnson. He was brilliant, and he taught me so much about spotting music, and to put it under and over and that. But people don't know how to do it anymore. They just don't know how to do it.
They just plow on music. Bring the music in. Everybody will love that. Yeah.
But most of it is not music. It's electronic chords.
Yes, it is.
You know, they're not musicians. They're not having to pay musicians' rights.
No.
And they're composing chords and drum beats and thunder, and it drives you insane. And luckily, I got out of it before it really took over, because on our shows like Magnum and the Heart to Heart, Love Boat, the music was done. It was all done properly.
Yes, it was. It was. Oh, I'm so glad to hear you say all that. Honestly, because it's exactly what I think. Yes.
Do you remember, Ray, how much music budget you had to play with? Did you have the ability to have so much minutes of new music, or was a lot of it tracked? How much?
I had no control over any of that at all.
Yeah.
Laurie Johnson, or whoever it was doing the music on a show, Elliot, any of them, they had their budget of what they did, and their budget was mainly what the instrumentation was. So I've seen Laurie Johnson do Avengers show, and up on the sound stage, he's had 35 musicians.
Yeah.
you know, which is an awful lot. Now they do things with a keyboard and 3 or 4 other musicians. But if Laurie Johnson had a budget on the Avengers to do the theme or whatever it was with 40 musicians, he'd do it. And it was his budget. It wasn't anything to do with the director or that. It was nothing to do with us at all. I just knew where I wanted music. I knew the type of music I wanted. And that's the way I used to work with Laurie. You know, I'd say it's getting creepy now here. He's coming through the door. We really should get low here, low as he comes to the door. Now we should have a really hit it here. And he taught me most of those things, how to do them. And it was an education. But he was entirely in charge of his budget, which he got from production. But it was up to him if he had to fight to get more or whatever it was.
Right.
So they're always afraid, you see, of the repeats on that, the music. Because the music had a stronger union than the actors or anyone else in those days. You know, musicians' rights, they, you know,
Musicians.
the songs that the people used to think, oh, we're doing a scene, a lovely scene, and there's a birthday party, we're all singing happy birthday. You know, you don't all sing happy birthday. You may sing the first 2 lines of happy birthday, but you won't sing any more because it's still recorded rights. The person who wrote happy birthday, his estate still gets money for happy birthday.
Yes, absolutely.
They don't do it. You think it's okay. Oh, let's just sing happy birthday. Say, don't sing happy birthday. You do the first line, then we fade out of it.
Yeah.
Because it costs you a lot of money to play happy birthday.
Absolutely.
Right? So even today,
Yeah.
even today, it still costs you a lot of money to play it.
It was 2 sisters or something who wrote Happy Birthday, wasn't it?
I think it was, yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
I think it was.
Good
And
for them.
And the other one that floored everybody was a silly song, a war song called Run Rabbit, Run.
Oh, yes.
Because it was a war song, everybody could sing it.
Yeah,
No, you
exactly.
couldn't sing it. It cost you a lot of money to sing Run Rabbit Run.
Oh, yes, yes. I used to sing that when I was a kid.
Yeah, exactly. But all those things that, you know, came into the composer's budget, and he was the one that a director or a writer never got anywhere near it. You just relied on telling and talking. In actual fact, Laurie was the one who really came up with practically every idea for all the music tracks that I ever did. Very seldom did I have to say, we got to get it under here because he's going to say something. He knew damn well he had to get under. He knew exactly how to do it.
Yeah. Oh.
If a door opened and creaks, he'd know exactly how to do a music touch, a little sting on that door opening. He'd know exactly how to do it.
Yes. Oh, there was so much talent then. It didn't rely on electronics and this, that, and the other. They actually did it.
Yeah.
And I think that's wonderful. And I'm so sad that we don't have that now. You just rely on buttons and Trojans and
I think the importance of a good theme as well is a bit lost these days, because if you look at something like the Saint or the Avengers theme or Randall Hopkirk or the importance of the main titles, that's what brings a new audience in, isn't it? Sort of.
Yeah. My husband Arthur always said that Britain had the best music for
the opening theme.
yes, for the theme music. Sorry, the theme music. He's always said that. He said, no, you can't beat them for that. They're brilliant with that.
I agree entirely.
Oh, it's a different industry in England. I mean, it's a different industry anywhere in the world now. All the good times I've had, no one else will ever have them. They've gone. And
Yes,
I've had the
me
best
too.
times in this industry. I mean, you know, as we said, when the fans came up, the last show or the show before that, when they came up, they knew it better than me. You know, I did my last stunt 59 years ago. They knew that. I didn't. I couldn't remember when I did my last stunt, but your fans remembered.
Yes.
I had the best of times. With the learning from people and the cameramen, the old cameramen and directors at ABPC Studios were the best teachers ever. Roy Ward Baker, Sidney Hares, Charlie Crichton. Charlie Crichton was a genius. I mean, an absolute genius. And he got nominated once for an Oscar, The Fishbowl Wonder.
Yes.
But
Yes, that's right.
They were
I worked
brilliant.
with all of them and they were fabulous.
Oh, they were absolute incredible people.
Yeah.
And they were the people we learned our craft. Well, I learned my craft from. I
Yeah.
used to drive most of them mad, asking questions all the time,
Yeah.
especially Sydney Hares. He used to tell me to piss off, go away, go away.
I
So I
did
always
a
wondered
movie with Sid Hares.
why I wanted to.
With Mike. Mike was in that.
Oh.
Mike was in that. This is my street. It was a movie. Yeah, Sid Hares directing, and Mike Pratt was in it.
Yeah.
That's when I first met him, and I played June Ritchie's sister in it. It was a good movie. I had a good part. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys have a favourite memory of Mike Pratt from, or just a couple of little anecdotes from your time with him?
I have a lot of good memories of Mike.
Hmm.
We got on really well. Mike and Kenny were just wonderful to work with.
Hmm.
We got on, we were like a little family. And we used to talk things over. We used to try to do things with the script. We'd ask Dennis, would that be all right? Oh, yes, that'd be good. Yeah, okay, we'll do that. And we'd come up with ideas, and we used to stay behind quite often in the studio and sit in one of the dressing rooms and talk about ideas for things. And that was wonderful. And then I also remember when I worked with Mike in a film and then a BBC play, I remember. And he was always just lovely to work with. I was mad about him. I thought he was a lovely person. And then Kenny, who neither of us had met, it was a family. They were shooting, with Peter Wingard, Jason King on the other set there.
Yeah.
And what's his name? Fabioli.
Joel Fabioli.
Joel used to sometimes wander on our set, and he'd say, do you mind if I sit down and just stay here for a while? We'd say, yeah, of course. He'd say, oh, it's such a relief to get off the set over there, because it was always chaos over there. And he used to come on to unwind and just have a nice time, even if we were working, we didn't chat or something. And yeah, he'd do that. He'd come and say, I just want to come here for a bit. Yeah, it's fine. Sit down.
Michael Pratt, when I was shooting Randall Hopkirk, I had an idea. I wanted very much to shoot a documentary on the perfume garden. Sir Richard Burton's perfume garden, the 1860. And it's a very tricky thing to do because it can be pornographic because it is a love story. So I wanted to do it. And I wanted to get the money together and to do it. And Monty Berman said to me, he said he knew about I wanted to do it. He said, I'll give you the camera, he said, and the stock. I'll donate that for it if you want to do it. So I said, okay, great. Frankie Watts offered to light it for me. Saeed Jeffrey offered to be in it as the poet. And I was nearly ready to do it. I couldn't get it together. I was going to shoot it out in Bedfordshire, where I lived, in a place called the Rectory. And I needed about £1,000. Mike came to me, he said, I understand you're doing a documentary. I said, I want to do a documentary. I said, it's purely an art picture. So I told him about it. He wrote me a check for £1,000.
Oh.
Yeah.
And we shot it, and I won the London Film Festival in 1970 for it. And John Llewellyn gave me, he had to give me an X certificate because it was slightly nudity in it. And he said he couldn't give me a full release on it. But it was made thanks to Mike Pratt and the other people that helped me out on that show. And as I say, I won.
I had no idea about that, Ray. That's wonderful.
Oh yeah.
I'd love to see it. Can we get hold of it?
I guess you Rank Labs must have it there because it was in the 35mm print. But it's one of those things. He was a nice guy.
Oh, Ken,
And he came up to the location and helped out. He was doing teas and that for us, one thing like making tea. Oh, and his girlfriend was in it. He had an Indian girlfriend at that time, and she was in it.
oh yes.
And Saeed Jeffrey, yeah. But and John Trevelyan asked me for permission that he could use it to teach and show around universities how to take a pornographic subject and make it beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And he used to tour with it.
Oh, I'd love to see that. I'm going to look and try to find it.
I don't know what it still
Yeah.
exists. I do.
Hmm.
You see, I've got the poster. Carry on talking, you two.
Do you keep in touch with Kenneth and Annette? Is he still?
No, I did. And it's just the last few weeks I've been thinking, oh, I've got to call Ken and find out. We used to have chats. The last time I did was, I think, in the first year of the pandemic. I was over here in 2019, and then I went back in December of that year. So I used to come over here to visit with my family for a month or two, almost every year. And I'd gone back. And then I think I spoke to Ken somewhere during that first year of the pandemic. And he was okay. He was fine.
Okay.
And then with everything happening, I didn't get in touch with him again. But in the last few weeks, I've been thinking, I must call Ken. And I will. Yeah. Because I was in touch with him and chatting to him.
Let me show you this. See if you can see this.
Oh yeah.
I can. Oh yes, I can. Oh, lovely.
Film festival.
Oh, that's great, Ray.
Yes, look at that. Yeah.
That's terrific. I want to see it. I'm going to try and find it.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll find it. I'm sure.
I think. Well, I know that Kodak, the Rank Laboratory, had the negative, but one would have to get the negative done up onto disc and all that now.
Well, you never know, because they may have put it already onto something. I just seem to think that everything can be found electronically now. I don't know whether that's true or not. But I will see what I can do. I'm not very good at all this, but I'll try.
Yeah, I'll have a look for you as well, Ray, and see if I can find it.
Okay, yeah, you're better at it than I am.
Well, I'll try.
You're a lot younger. You know about all these things.
Yeah.
I want to go back. I remember when I was a kid running down the carriage with the horse with a jug to get the milk and take it in. I used to do that. And then we would get, there'd be a little sort of wagon coming around with a horse, with knife sharpeners and a guy who would sharpen your knives and do this, that, and the other. I remember. And then it advanced a little bit, and they used to bring fresh bread and deliver it every day. And it would be still hot, warm when you got it. My mother and I would slice it up and put masses of butter on it, which we loved. And it was delicious bread. I remember those sorts of things. They really happened. And electronics was something that you didn't even, nothing in the world could you have imagined anything like that.
Yeah.
But those were wonderful days. It was colorful, and you had different people, and imagine someone driving along the road with a horse and a little cart, and saying, "Do you want your knives sharpened? Do you want some pots and pans?" Honestly.
Yeah, sounds very nice. Yeah.
And you go down for your milk, and he puts the milk, and I pat the horse because I loved horses, and I pat the horse while I was there and chat to the horse, and we'd get the milk, and I'd go into the house. And then you also had, I've got to remember, this is getting away from Randall Hopkirk. But I grew up in Australia, and we used to have the Iceman come in, and he'd have this sort of blanket thing over his shoulder, and he'd carry this big block of ice, and he'd put it in your ice chest. It wasn't a refrigerator, we didn't have them, but an ice chest. And the other one was even better. He was called the Dunny Man. And Ray, the Dunny Man would come to change you had outside loos. And he'd come to change the pan. And he had a sort of thing, a canvassing over his shoulder. And he'd hoist the can full of everything onto his shoulder and walk back to the cart. And I used to think, I wonder what would happen if he tripped over with all the stuff in the pan. And we had that. I've seen a lot, as Ray has done too, you know, from when I was a kid and growing up in the different ages and the advance. But the advance now has been so quick that you can't keep up and you have no memories.
I think that's fair. It's because what you're describing is a much more tactile, people-friendly world, and it's all a bit clinical and removed, and it's very easy to lose that personal connection.
To get back to our show, tell me, is it Randall and Hopkirk, or my partner, is it being run in England these days? I mean, is it what? Do they have it on television?
ITV4, I think, run lots of things like the Avengers Professionals, and Randall Hopkirk's on that. So and it's available on Blu-ray and DVD. So it's.
I keep hearing from people saying,
do I need the networks run them at all?
I don't think the main stations I think ITV4 is the one that I'm thinking of. There's a channel called Yesterday.
It's on BritBox.
Might be on BritBox, possibly. Fairly easy to. Yes, we've had somebody said it's still on BritBox. Yeah. So it's.
And because I know that someone told me the Saint is running again, you can run the Saint as well.
Oh, that's almost running every day, pretty much on ITV4. You know.
What is it? ITV4?
ITV4, I think it is. Yeah, they run all sorts of classic shows, and I think there's always at least one episode of the Saint a day. I think it is, but it's very popular.
I keep hearing from fans saying they've just seen an episode of Randall Hopkirk or an episode of the Saint or whatever. And I keep thinking, where does it go? And
the I mean, our audience, as I've learned from you, is not all my age or anyone else's age. There's a lot of younger people out there that seem to like the shows we did.
They keep coming on and saying, oh, my mother used to love this show and she used to watch it, and now they're showing replays and I've been watching, and I'm really watching it and enjoying it very much. And you get this quite a lot, which is great. Who could have thought in those days that we would live on? I certainly didn't think. I know Mike and Kenny didn't think. Did you, Ray? Did you think it would go on like this?
I don't know. I guess I did in a way. I wanted it to go on. That's why.
It never occurred to me that it could, because things used to finish and that would be it. And they'd do another, that you never dreamed it would keep going. I think it's just been fabulous. I can't believe I was involved in all of that.
Well, that's one of the great things about the electronic age and everything. We get great surprises. I mean, I get photographs sent to me from fans from all around the world of things that I've forgotten, never knew existed, the photograph, and never knew, I'd forgotten that I'd done that certain thing. But they come up with it. And as Philip knows, I did a speaker event at Chichester University for the 50th anniversary of the Avengers, and Philip was there, but the audience knew more about the Avengers than I did.
Oh yeah, I know.
It was incredible. I was doing this talk, and on the stage, and I get to things and say so and so. I can't remember the name of that. Someone in the audience would shout out the name of the person or what it was.
Yeah, they do.
And these were young people, not the age that Wendy and I expected it to be. You know, when Wendy and I went in there, I expected that, I think it was 250 people there, that we expected to be my age, Avengers age.
Yeah.
But when we walked in there, Wendy gave me a nudge, and it was definitely the younger generation, and they knew more about the stories. And some of the stories I told, they gave me the answer before I got to the answer.
It's true, they do.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Yeah, you should never be afraid of doing some of these things, you know, asking to talk about the show, because you think, that's all right, if I forget, someone else will know.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
It's quite incredible. But it's happened time and time again on here with Philip. We've wanted something, and a moment after I've said it, someone's brought it up on the screen, and Philip's relaying it back.
Yeah.
That it's not forgotten, you know. And if it's not that, it's Wendy that's telling me that, because Wendy's got a favorite thing with me where she nudges me and says, they don't know who you're talking about. Don't say it, you know.
It's true, she's right.
And she's right most of the time.
Yeah.
I start talking and doing something like the London Film Festival, and when I did that and the London Film Museum, I start on a story and I see Wendy sitting by the side of the stage and she's shaking her head, and I know I can hear her saying, they don't know who you're talking about. No idea who Cary Grant is. They don't know him.
I know. Oh, isn't it weird? I know. I talk about all those people all the time, and I get people going, huh?
It's true. It happens. It happens.
I think you're right. It is kept alive because people, people's parents watch the show and they perhaps watched it with them as kids. Strange enough, my mum and dad didn't like. Well, they watched it at the time, but they then went on to something new. So for me, it was being a fan of the Bond films and seeing Roger Moore, and then seeing the Persuaders DVD in a shop and think, oh, that would be interesting to watch, or The Saint, or Randall Hopkirk. So if people have their favorite actors, that's another way to get into these classic shows. I think that is a major part of it as well, because there's just so many great names, isn't there, in these series, and people are going to stumble upon them eventually, I think. And we were saying about the Chichester event. Alexandra was there actually.
Right.
Even though she wasn't in the Avengers, she was there doing.
Along.
Yeah.
And Linda was there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, Linda.
Dear Brian Clements.
Oh, yeah.
On that.
That was a good event, that one.
And I think the problem with now with the economics of things, you don't get events like that sadly anymore. I think it's all changed a little bit. So
they were going to do a 50th anniversary of the New Avengers, but it never happened. Well, you told me.
Yeah.
They couldn't do it for some reason or the other.
Yeah, there's going to be one later. It was going to be September, but so I think like a week's time. But they just couldn't get the people. It just collapsed, unfortunately. But so just to round off, then, how do you guys feel that Randall Hopkirk holds up, and particularly this episode? I think it's perhaps one of the best ones.
Well, I think it holds up well. I was pleased to see it hold up. I mean, except for the screen size, you wouldn't know because the quality's good. It was shot on 35mm film, so the quality has to be good.
Yeah.
All my actors were on the ball.
Yeah.
The story holds.
Yes.
The story could have gone further if we'd had another 10 minutes to shoot or something like that, or a bit more money. But it definitely holds.
I think it holds up. I really do.
Yeah.
I think it's got a load of character, a load of color, and changes of temperament in terms of the comedy and the drama worked well. Yeah, it does. And it's one of those that doesn't really, as you said at the beginning, it doesn't really date. There's very few things to, I mean, I suppose. It's funny, it doesn't date. At least that's what I've been told by fans. And
yeah, I mean, I think from my point of view, it's perhaps only maybe the nightclub sequence with the dancing styles and seeing shots of London and there's no traffic and things of that nature. But
I know, that was a bit of a surprise. Oh, wasn't really like that. And I remember driving around. I used to be able to drive around, park in front of Harrods and things. That was amazing.
I think that's one thing that younger people probably like about shows like this. It's almost a window into another time, and to see the fashions and you could drive around London without dying and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think it's lovely, and I think it holds up very well. And I think I am absolutely so fortunate to have been part of all of that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I feel that
and
way.
to have worked with Ray.
That's sweet. I feel that way as well. And the main person, the two people that made that show work, I think number one is the creator, Dennis Spooner.
Yeah.
Number two is Kenny Cope, because that was not an easy part to play.
Oh no.
He was Kenny Cope is a lovely actor, a good comedian, very good comedian.
Yeah.
But you had to restrict him because the part called to be restricted. Kenny Cope used to jump into a scene and probably stand there, do his dialogue and jump out. He very seldom made any distance. He very seldom got a chance to walk around rooms or walk on roads because he was restricted to the character.
Yeah.
I think he did a bloody marvelous job.
He was
keeping the character and keeping it restricted to behind the desk, sitting in a chair, standing behind a chair. Other actors could walk around the room and do this and that. Kenny always had to stop and listen to people to get the story. So I think he did an exceptional job with the characterization.
And you had to keep the character within that ghost situation. And when he did tend to jump out of it a bit, as according to the script, it made it more interesting. And then, I'm a ghost. I've got to get, I've got to be the ghost again.
But he knew the character very well. And as I say, he was very satisfied with knowing that he stood somewhere and never got a chance to move, because it just didn't work for him to move as a character.
No, and when you're interrupted in a performance and you have to stand still, and then you've got to pick it up after that and make it a continuous animated performance, it's not easy. It's not easy. No,
I think he did a brilliant job. Him and Spooner, I think, did a great job, giving us all a very good platform.
Absolutely. I think you're absolutely right. Yeah.
I think it's a very good episode for Kenneth, because his character is in real jeopardy in a way that in other episodes it isn't, because you can't kill a person that's already dead. So the fact that
it was a funny idea. It was. Yeah. How can you? And he's getting all ill and taking and everything else. No, it was. I loved it. Yeah.
And it's very a good one for your character as well, Annette, because it's a very explores that relationship with your late husband, and it's quite a meaty one from your point of view as well. Yes.
And in other episodes, Annette's got very good scenes on that theme with Kenny. Marty being jealous, because her going out on a date, or thought she was going out on a date. Then he was jealous of Mike. We got and that. So
it was a relationship. Not
some of the episodes it really exploited very well his jealousy and that, and her not understanding why things were happening to her. Not knowing the influence that was being put on Mike all the time.
Right.
To look after her and protect her. She didn't need that looking after and protecting.
Right.
Or he kept on to Mike saying, look after her, make sure that's all right. Who's she seeing? Where's she going? Who gave her a lift? Who gave her a lift? Who gave her? All those sort of things. It worked very well.
It was really done well. The ghost was there all the time. What do you mean? Take your hands. I remember one scene where I was in bed and he was sitting on the bed next to me. I have no idea about that scene. I can't remember it at all, but I've got photographs of it. And he's, a bit sort of, okay, well, she's asleep. That's good. you know. She's not out with somebody.
Yeah. And do you in America it was we named my partner as the ghost.
My partner, the ghost.
Was there a particular reason for that you guys recall, or was it just did just make it simpler for the American audience, or was it that, you know, in terms of the format? I mean, that it was sort of.
I have no idea. I mean, they just made it because
Well,
they
Randall,
felt the Americans would understand that better.
Yeah.
Randall Hopkirk Deceased was a good title. It's a good working title for Dennis.
Hmm.
But Dennis admitted, to me anyway, when he came and stayed with me in Hollywood, that My Partner the Ghost was a better title.
Hmm.
Yes, I suppose it is.
Explanation of it was.
But I don't think it would have. I think Randall and Hopkirk Deceased was the one that grabbed the attention
Hmm. Yeah.
over here.
Hmm.
When you
But
say
My
My Partner
the Ghost
is
is
a story, which is good.
a good title.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But if you say My Partner the Ghost, it conjures up a story.
Yeah.
Whether you've seen the script or not, it conjures up a story to say that Randall and Hopkirk Deceased means someone is deceased. But to be able to say My Partner the Ghost conjures up a real story, you've got to go to the partner.
That's
Hmm.
true. You're
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Hmm.
And I think Dennis agreed with that. It didn't worry him at all.
Because you did.
I still think it could have gone a lot longer, and I still think if they were going to do a remake, they could have done better than they did, bless them.
Oh yeah.
I do too, and we were all for it, and we were more experienced in the whole thing, and had gotten hold of all the characters and the ideas, and were running with it. And we needed to be able to continue to do that, and it would have gotten better. It really would have gotten better.
Would you have taken it in a more comical direction, or would it have been a
Well, I don't know. I mean, Dennis was happy to do that, but it just meant that there were many more interesting situations that could be gotten from it. And also, Dennis was keen for me to have more to do in it. The boys wanted me to have more.
Yeah.
They worked over the time, and eventually I did get more to do, but they wanted me to be in more, which was good, which was wonderful.
The greatest thing about it was that if it had been done properly, the technology which is there now, it could have been so much better.
Well, of course.
The things we could do now. I mean, you know, as I said, to walk Marty through a wall was a big production number.
Absolutely. And of course it would, but we didn't have it then.
Now
so we did the best, and we did a good job with it. I think we did. Everyone else involved with it did an excellent job. I think everybody liked working on it. I know the crew did.
Okay. Yeah.
We got on well with the crew, and I think that's important.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's all part and parcel of the whole thing.
Who laughed the first out of you three? Was it always somebody? If a line was going to be fluffed, it would be. Was there many slip ups with lines? Anybody caught?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, quite often, you know.
Quite often.
And I mean, sometimes it would be caused. Kenny and Mike had got together and did something in the middle of it that would make me stop, probably fall about laughing. And Monty would be there with his stopwatch saying, "On with the scene."
Yeah. There was a good comment that came in actually that about the special effects is that because effects were limited, it was forced to be character development and story, whereas if you made it today, maybe the visual effects might have taken over and the stories might not have been so good, but so perhaps that's partly why it's such a good series.
Obviously, whatever it was in those days, it had what it required, or it wouldn't still be here with us talking about it.
Yeah.
And I know you can say it would be better if we did it with all these things, but we didn't have all these things, and I think we did a bloody good job.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
Ray was there amongst it.
It would have been a very different show had the technology been there, and maybe not so good. Maybe there's some good.
No, because we wouldn't have been involved so much. And that's what I liked. I liked being involved so much, and not having to stand in front of a blue screen or whatever it is they do today.
Yes, it would have made certain things easier. I was thinking about the graveyard sequence when the wind is blowing in Marty's face, and you could easily have gotten a leaf or something, and you had to have redone it.
Oh, there would have been, of course, from the director's point of view, from Ray's point of view, it could have been much better, of course. From an actor's point of view, we wouldn't have been able to do some of the things. It would have been taken away from us. And therefore, I've not worked in today's world, not with all these things. I've done a bit, not all. And I think it would have taken away for me the continuity and the sense of your character and the sense of the story you were playing, that it would be disjointed, and instead of, it would be not a continuous flow. I could be wrong. I haven't done it, so I could very well be wrong. I could do something now and find that I loved it. I don't know. It's just what I feel.
Yeah.
I think the great thing is that in this day and age, we've still got an audience there that are enjoying the show that we made all those years.
Exactly.
Oh yeah. That's right.
That's a nice thing to be able to sit here.
I know. All these years later.
When we made that.
I know. It's lovely.
Still liked.
It's lovely. Yeah, I like that too.
When you made the show, Ray, having done 6 episodes, did you do those in blocks, pretty much back to back, or did you do?
No, in blocks, because I was a very lucky fellow. I was working on the sets. I was going from Randall Hopkirk, to the Avengers. From the Avengers, I was going to the Saint. From the Saint, I was going across the road to Sergeant Cork. And I mean, I was very lucky.
You do a Sergeant Cork? I did a Sergeant Cork too.
Yeah.
That was good fun. Yeah.
But so I nearly all the shows that I did, even over here, it was spasmodic. I'd do so many episodes and have to move off, like Robert Wagner and I were saying the other day. I would have done many more heart to hearts, but I was booked for other shows back off into Hawaii for Magnums and Love Boat. I was doing back to back with Heart to Heart. So I was spreading myself all over the place, very luckily.
I don't think we mentioned Jack Morrison, the production manager. Did you have a lot to do with Jack Morrison, Ray?
Who?
Jack Morrison, the production manager.
No, Ron Lyles, I thought, was the production manager when I was there. But he must have been, if he's there.
Ronnie Lyles, yes, Ronnie Lyles.
So you had a good relationship with your various production managers, it sounds like. Ronald Lyles and Jack Morrison, they're both credited. So production supervisor Ronald Lyles, Jack Morrison production manager, that's it. So they're both.
They're right. Lyles would have been supervisor. Morrison would have been production manager. Yeah, absolutely right. They're right.
And just to finish off, is there any final comments you would like to make before we wrap up?
No, I just thank all our audience again for being there and enjoying it with us. I mean, I think they're lovely to stick by us all these years.
Well, they do, yeah. And when it comes to conventions, I take it you get a lot. Annette, you still go to lots of conventions, and you get a lot of fans coming up to you and all ages, and
Well,
Just
I
to-
did, but of
Yeah.
course, with the pandemic, that put paid to pretty
Hmm.
much all of that.
Yeah.
I am, however, doing one. I think it's next weekend, actually,
Mhm.
in London. I can't. It's the film fair or something. I can't remember. I am doing it for the first time
Oh.
in these 3 years, whatever it is.
Mhm.
And yes, fans do. They do come up, and it's very rewarding. I'm just extremely appreciative of all those years I had of working in a situation or situations that I absolutely loved. I love our business, and I would truly love to do some more. But I really loved it. I was, and I'm thankful to everybody who have put us here.
Hmm. Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
thank you, Ray, because I had you as a stuntman, a director, and you've kept in touch, and I think that's lovely.
That's
Thank
what
you.
it's all about. That's what it's all about.
Well, I just want to say thank you very much to both of you for having a wonderful discussion about Randall Hopkirk and so many other things. It would be remiss of me if I didn't mention your book, Annette. That if people want to know a bit more about your life, it's available on all online bookshops.
Thank you
Where
very
I
much.
have been all my life, it's a very good read. And of course, where you've got your wonderful books as well. So novels, so adventure stories. So again, available on Amazon, and they're a good read. We can't ever persuade you to do your autobiography, Ray, but this is a very good window into your work.
It may happen. Who knows? Who knows?
We keep our fingers crossed.
My daughter and Wendy are always on me about it. It could happen one day. Who knows? Who knows?
Who knows?
I
Exactly.
get pretty taken up with other things, so
Hmm.
I'm always busy and always doing something. Very happy to do it.
That's the important thing, to always be doing something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
All right, you two.
Okay,
I'm going to say goodbye to you and thanks for.
I'm going to go and eat now. You know, it's 9 o'clock at night. I'm going to have any dinner yet.
Oh, better let you go. Yes. Well,
Good night.
good night. Have a lovely dinner and rest of your weekend. And
It'll be 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Yeah.
Thank you.
okay. So I'll see you all later. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Annette. Thanks,
Thank you
Ray.
very much. Bye, Ray.
Bye, everyone.
Bye,
See you
Philip.
later. Bye-bye.